For decades, the U.S. has been a powerful friend to many Asian countries. But in 2025, that's changing. Today we'll reveal 7 Asian countries cutting ties with the U.S. in 2025 and explain the real reasons behind this sudden shift in alliances. And now, let's dive in. Number 7. Indonesia. In 2025, Indonesia is slowly stepping back from its close ties with the United States. One of the main triggers is Washington's strong push on human rights and environmental rules, especially around palm oil and nickel production. These are 2 key exports that keep Indonesia's economy running, and U.S. trade limits on them have hit hard. Many in Jakarta see this as the U.S. interfering too much in their domestic affairs. Why is this such a big deal for Indonesia? Because palm oil and nickel are not just export products. They are lifelines for millions of workers and a big source of government revenue. Any restriction on them feels like a direct attack on the country's economy. Instead of relying on Washington, Indonesia is now building stronger links with other countries. China has become a top buyer of Indonesian nickel, while Middle Eastern nations are investing heavily in energy and infrastructure projects. Does this mean the U.S. and Indonesia are completely cutting ties? Not yet. The U.S. is still a major buyer of Indonesian goods, but trust is fading fast. Indonesia's message is clear. It will work with partners who respect its choices, even if that means moving further away from Washington. Oh, before we go to the next country, comment down below where you are watching. We love to know where you are from. And now, let's go to the next country. Number 6. Pakistan. In 2025, Pakistan's relationship with the United States is at one of its lowest points in decades. The main reason is Washington's growing defense and trade partnership with India, Pakistan's longtime rival. Many in Islamabad see this as a sign that the U.S. is no longer a reliable partner. Why is this shift such a problem for Pakistan? Because for years, it relied on U.S. military aid, trade deals, and diplomatic backing. Losing that support means Pakistan must find new friends and new sources of help. As a result, Pakistan has been strengthening its ties with China even more, joining new trade and infrastructure projects under the Belt and Road Initiative. It is also increasing cooperation with Russia and other regional powers that do not place heavy political conditions on deals. Does this mean Pakistan has fully cut off the U.S.? Not completely, but the relationship is no longer based on trust or shared goals. Many joint projects are on hold, and high-level visits have become rare. In 2025, Pakistan is clearly signaling that it will focus on partners who share its strategic interests, even if that means stepping further away from Washington. Number 5. Malaysia. In 2025, Malaysia's relationship with the United States is not as close as before. The main reason is that the U.S. has been speaking out about Malaysia's politics and how it handles some local issues. The U.S. has also shown concern over Malaysia's growing trade and security ties with China, which America sees as a main rival. Why is this a problem for Malaysia? Because it feels like the U.S. is trying to tell it who it can and cannot work with. Malaysian leaders have said they want to keep a fair balance, building good ties with all countries, not just one side. Because of this, Malaysia is making more deals with other Asian neighbors, China, and countries in the Middle East. It is also working together on tourism, trade, and military training with partners that do not set strict political demands. Does this mean Malaysia is cutting off the U.S.? No, it still works with America in some areas, but it is not putting the U.S. first anymore. The message is simple: Malaysia will be friends with the U.S., but only if it is treated with the same respect as other partners. Wait! If you found this video interesting, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more content, and tap the notification bell so you never miss an update. And now, let's go to the next country. Number 4. Nepal. In 2025, Nepal's relationship with the United States is not as close as before. One main reason is Washington's concern over Nepal's stronger ties with China through trade and big infrastructure projects. The U.S. has warned Nepal about depending too much on China, but Nepal sees these projects as a way to grow its economy faster and bring in more jobs. How is Nepal reacting to these warnings? Instead of slowing down, Nepal is moving forward with building roads, power plants, and railways with Chinese help. Leaders in Kathmandu say they will work with any country that offers fair deals without adding heavy political demands. Another reason for the cooling ties is the U.S. reducing some aid programs after disagreements over how funds were being used. This cut in support has made Nepal look for other partners. It is now strengthening connections with India, Gulf nations, and even Russia for trade and investment opportunities. What does this mean for everyday people in Nepal? For some, it means more job openings in construction, tourism, and trade. For others, there is worry about the country taking on too much foreign debt, which could create problems in the future. In the end, Nepal is sending a clear message. It will not let any one country control its choices. While it still values friendly ties with the U.S., Nepal wants the freedom to decide what is best for its own future, even if it means stepping away from America's lead. Number 3. Vietnam. In 2025, Vietnam's relationship with the United States is facing new tensions. While trade between the two countries remains important, political disagreements are starting to push them apart. The biggest issue is Washington's criticism of Vietnam's strict control over speech and political activities. The U.S. has also been vocal about human rights concerns, which Vietnam sees as interference in its internal affairs. Why is this becoming a bigger problem now? Under the current U.S. administration, there is a stronger focus on using trade and aid as tools to pressure countries on political issues. Vietnam, however, believes it should set its own rules without outside influence. Another reason for the strain is competition in the South China Sea. While the U.S. wants Vietnam to take a tougher stand against China, Hanoi prefers to handle disputes in its own way, balancing relations with both sides to protect its economy. This difference in approach is creating friction. As a result, Vietnam is slowly building stronger ties with other partners like South Korea, Japan, and ASEAN neighbors. These relationships bring trade and investment without the same level of political demands. What does this shift mean for Vietnam's future? It means more independence in decision-making, but also the risk of losing some trade benefits with the U.S. Still, Vietnam appears ready to accept that risk in exchange for keeping control over its policies. For now, the two nations still cooperate, but the trust is clearly weaker than it once was. Number 2. China. In 2025, China's relationship with the United States is at one of its lowest points in decades. The two countries have been clashing on multiple fronts: trade, technology, military presence, and global influence. For many observers, it's no surprise that China is steadily reducing cooperation with the U.S. and focusing on building its own alliances. One major reason is the trade war that has carried over from previous years. Tariffs and restrictions on Chinese goods remain in place, and in some areas, they have even increased. The U.S. has also placed tighter controls on technology exports to China, especially in advanced chips and artificial intelligence. This has pushed Beijing to speed up its plans for self-reliance in key industries. Why is China moving so quickly away from the U.S. now? The answer lies in trust, or rather, the lack of it. Both sides accuse the other of using unfair practices, and both are preparing for a future where they depend less on each other. Military tensions are another big factor. the U.S. continues to strengthen its presence in the Asia-Pacific, working closely with allies like Japan, Australia, and the Philippines. China sees this as an attempt to contain its rise, especially in areas like the South China Sea and Taiwan. In response, Beijing has increased military drills and deepened defense ties with Russia and other strategic partners. Another question is, how does this affect ordinary people? For Chinese businesses, losing access to U.S. markets and technology creates short-term challenges, but it also drives innovation at home, with the government pouring resources into research, education, and domestic production. Culturally, the exchange between the two nations has also slowed. Fewer students are going to the U.S., and tourism has dropped sharply. Instead, China is encouraging more internal travel and partnerships within Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. By 2025, it's clear that China is not just reacting to U.S. pressure, it's actively shaping a future without relying heavily on American trade or technology. While competition remains fierce, China is betting that its growing network of global partners will make cutting ties with the U.S. less costly over time. Number 1. Philippines. In 2025, the Philippines is making a surprising shift in its foreign policy. For decades, it was one of the strongest U.S. allies in Asia, but now, signs are showing that Manila is slowly stepping back from its close ties with Washington. This doesn't mean the friendship is over, but the tone and direction have clearly changed. The biggest reason is the growing feeling among Filipino leaders that the U.S. takes more than it gives. While America has provided military aid and disaster relief over the years, the Philippines still faces challenges in defending its territory, especially in the South China Sea. Some in the government are asking, if the U.S. is truly our ally, why are we still struggling to get enough support when tensions rise with China? At the same time, the Philippines is building stronger economic links with other countries, including China, South Korea, and Middle Eastern nations. Trade deals, investments, and infrastructure projects from these partners often come with fewer political conditions compared to U.S. assistance. This makes them attractive to local leaders who want quicker results. How does this shift affect ordinary Filipinos? On one hand, diversifying alliances could bring more jobs, better roads, and new technology from different partners. On the other hand, reducing reliance on the U.S. might weaken some security guarantees, especially in times of crisis. Another factor is cultural pride. Many Filipinos value their independence and don't want their country's policies to be shaped too heavily by any single foreign power. Leaders are now talking about a multi-directional foreign policy, one that keeps friendships with many nations but avoids depending too much on one. While U.S. bases and military cooperation remain for now, the Philippines is sending a message. It wants relationships built on equality, not dependency. By 2025, this stance is reshaping how the country engages with the world. The U.S. is still a friend, but no longer the only friend that matters. For a nation that once leaned heavily on Washington, this is a big change, and one that could redefine its role in Asia for years to come. Thanks for watching. Before you go, make sure to like, subscribe, and smash the notification bell. Which of these countries do you think will completely break ties with the U.S.? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'll be reading and replying to as many as possible.